Welcome to the Church Digital Podcast. Through this podcast, we'll talk about the technological innovations within the church. But more than tech for tech itself, we'll address deeper questions. Is disciple making possible digitally? How should we approach the digital mission field? Can a biblically grounded church operate in digital space? Oh, and where does the metaverse fit into all this? Whether you're a big or small church, an established church, or a startup church plant, the Church Digital's goal is to help churches like yours learn to be a multiplying church, digitally and physically. Our heart, that churches like yours would discover a newfound focus on disciple making that will revolutionize your church. And now, here's your host, Jeff Reed.
All right, hey, welcome to the Church Digital Podcast, Twitch edition here. We're broadcasting live at this moment. It's Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, and we're over TV/Digital Church Network. We're in season 4 here of the Church Digital Podcast, Jesus, Gamers, and Church. We're digging into exploring the idea of not just digital church, but gamer church, one of the fastest growing categories of digital churches, at least in America today. And we're even seeing expanses in gaming churches globally. We've done deep dives into what church looks like, what digital missionaries look like, what nerd culture looks like, just so many different topics we've hit, even what church looks like inside of video games. Last week we had DJ Soto and Pastor Coco talking about VR MMO church and the MMO side, where we talked about Final Fantasy 14 and what church looks like within FF14. So some good stuff. And I just said FF14 like I actually know what I'm talking about. I really don't. And so this is purely an example of fake it till you make it. Although my daughter just walked out, who is the FF fan and is waving at me. So that's a good thing. Hey, listen, we've got a great show for you today. This is not the show that we were planning on. We had to pivot a little bit. We had promised and talked about earlier a conversation with Dr. Carl from the American Association of Christian Counselors. We were going to do a deep dive on neurodivergency and how to do ministry in some of these areas when you're dealing with some mental challenges and people with some issues like that. And so we were going to have that conversation, and Mark Lutz, or Mark, however you pronounce the dude's last name, was going to be part of that, and TJ was going to be a part of that from GodSquad, and everybody got sick like COVID, and so Mark and TJ, God bless you, get better. We'll do the conversation at a later time, and excited about that. Even Dr. Carl was excited to jump into this conversation to really explore how to do digital ministry centered around neurodivergent and some mental challenging issues with that. So we are going to do that later, and one day we will actually get Mark's name correctly pronounced. It's been years at this point, man, and I've never done it right. That's like embarrassing for me. We're going to move on here, and we're going to bring in today's show. And so we're not going to do the neurodivergent conversation, and instead we're going to make it ladies' night here on the Church Digital. And I want to bring on Asia, and I want to bring on Amanda into the conversation. And so Mark, who's actually doing tech with COVID, is running and thankfully pressed the right button. So Asia, Amanda, thanks for jumping on the show here.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Great. So I jokingly said it's ladies' night. It's actually like 3 p.m. So it's ladies' afternoon. Maybe I should say something like girl power or whatever. By the way, this is going to be so awkward for the rest of the show. Like, it's going to be fun. The last concert I actually saw publicly, and this is going to date me right now, that I actually went to a venue and I saw Spice Girls, their last U.S. concert tour in 1990.
That's pretty impressive, though. What a good last.
That was impressive.
That's so cool.
I was working for a radio station, and they had free tickets, and I was just like, yeah, I'll go. And so I took. It was funny. My girlfriend, who's not my wife, she didn't even want to go. So I took 2 other girls who I was friends with, platonic, nothing weird. But we went to this concert, and so I'm a college senior. And dude, I was the oldest dude at this show, except for like the dads were like there with the 3-year-old girls. And it was the most awkward, and I think I left the concert early. Like, I couldn't even stick around. I have no idea what that has to do with video games, but I got 2 women. So why not tell the girl story, I guess. Very cool. And so whatever guests were around are now running at how bad this is. But hey, listen, I want to really dig into what the ladies are doing here in ministry. Maybe even talk about what women in streaming and what women in Twitch, what this looks like and what opportunities there are. And so thank you, ladies, for jumping on this and making a quick adjustment to be part of this. But let's dig in. And so Amanda, let's kick it off with you. You're with GodSquad, and your husband was on previously, and we've talked with him I think a couple times, really centered around what's happening with GodSquad. But it's been a minute, so why don't you give us an update and talk to us a little bit about GodSquad, the church, and what ministry looks like for you guys on Twitch and beyond.
Yeah, so I am on staff with GodSquad Church, and we're a church. We actually just celebrated our 7 years, our 7th anniversary of being, here on Twitch, reaching gamers last weekend. And so, we're a church that solely exists on Twitch and Discord to reach gamers for Jesus. And our 4 core values are, we just want to be here to help gamers come to know God, to experience community, to discover their purpose and make a difference. And really everything that we do is wrapped around those 4 core values. It's been exciting. We go live for services on Twitch. We have so much community and fellowship in Discord. And that's really us in a nutshell. But it has been just a joy to be a part of. So, yeah.
So I got to ask before we swing over to Asia, 7 years is a long time. Like I've never had the same job for longer than 4 years. And so like that's 2 careers for me. What have you guys, like what has been the drastic change? What did you start doing? And like 7 years later, it's like, oh no, that's a train wreck. We don't do that anymore. There's got to be something that you've pivoted big time on.
Oh gosh. I don't know why this is the first thing that's popping into my head. But we used to do, this is actually not even that huge. I can't think of anything really big, but the first thing that popped into my head is we actually used to do during our services, it was more of like a fun little thing we did. It was was it a top 10 like gameplay? It was like a video of like just the community members like epic gameplay. It was like top wins, and people could like submit their gameplay every single week, and then like during service we would vote on like the best one.
That's awesome.
It was really cool, but like no one ever sent videos. It was like 1 or 2 people. So it was like a really cool idea. But it was like really hard to keep like doing, and so we decided to stop doing it. And so I don't know why that's the first thing that popped in my head, but there's one example.
Very cool. So lots of change. We're going to get into what kind of some of the stuff that GodSquad's doing and really digging with Amanda here in a little bit. We're going to swing over to the other A, Asia. Now, is it appropriate for Asia? Do I have to say Asia, the girl? Like what's
no, you can call me Asia. My name is actually Asia. So
okay.
So it's
very
not like
cool. So
yeah.
Very cool. So Asia, tell me a little bit about your ministry and what it looks like.
So I always, whenever we have this conversation or this kind of conversation, I get a little bit of imposter syndrome because I don't have like an official ministry at all. But in a sense, I do, in the sense that I'm like fulfilling my own personal ministry, but that's kind of getting ahead of myself. I've been doing content creation for the last 7 years now, around 7 or 8. And my heart has always been to build relationships with people. And I try to do that through just being creative and making food. And those are kind of the 2 camps I would hang out in. And I was really like on Instagram a lot and on Facebook and on YouTube. And then, during lockdown in 2020, Luke, or Frostbite, as a lot of people in the space know him, he started streaming after, I think the last time he streamed was when we were in college, but he started streaming to connect with people. And then I got really involved with just like his community that he started growing. And through that, everyone in that community really encouraged me to start streaming on my own. And it was one of those like, I don't know, like everything kind of came together where I was like, this is like what I've been wanting to do. I just really have a heart for, like I said, building relationships. And like, the way that I operate, like whatever I create, content wise is just the vehicle to or like the catalyst for those relationships. And I started viewing my channel and we were joking around about this, but my laundry room as like an extension, like a virtual extension of my home, because I'm all about like hospitality in the sense of I want people to feel at home with me wherever, like whether that is like in a physical home or in the digital space or just grabbing coffee or whatever. Like I always want people to feel comforted and safe and like have an environment where we can build relationships together. And so it's been really cool over the last a little over 2 years, kind of like iterating on that and really focusing in on like that perspective and like really connecting with people that I wouldn't be able to if it wasn't for being on Twitch. So anyways, it's been
that's awesome.
It's been a joy. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally want to get into content creation, and we've not. I mean, we haven't had like a dedicated content creator in this season yet, but I mean, lots of people create content at some level. But like before we get there, I just want to call out, if you're watching this on YouTube or obviously on Twitch, there's a washer and dryer literally behind you right now. Like your backdrop are those working machines?
They are. We like to joke around about these machines that they're like fancy, big, massive speakers, but really they're just a washing machine and a dryer, and they work great. And we got them from a scratch and dent store. And it just is too big. This room is too big for it to just be a laundry room. And I was like, you know what? I can either like stream from like, I don't know, from like a corner in the dining room or in Luke's, like in our living room, our temporary living room that is also Luke's stream room. But I was like, I could just also use the space, and I feel like I made it look cool. So
yeah. Do you find yourself like doing a random load of laundry like real quick while you're working, or you spill something on your socks and just rip them off and throw them in by himself? Like it's convenient, right?
It is very convenient. I do laundry here and there when I'm working. But the funniest thing, actually, also my light all of a sudden decided to start flashing. But
it's a disco, I have disco.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully it'll stop in a second, or I'll have to do something. But I have an on-air like little LED sign that hangs above that door that's coming from our kitchen, and I have to turn it on, or else my brother or Luke will like walk in with just like a load of laundry, maybe while I'm streaming or in like a work meeting or something. And there were just too many embarrassing moments for them where they just found themselves in awkward positions looking at my coworkers, maybe not like fully presentable to the to the public, and so I had to like put a light to indicate. Like right now it's on, so my brother knows to not like come in here with a load of whites or something while we're doing the stream.
That's awesome. Well, let's dig in here a little bit. It's interesting. Saint Bear brings up a great point in Twitch or in chat here. Twitch does not have to be about video games. Food streams, crafts, creativity, co-working, etc. are all awesome outside of the box ways to build relationships through digital tools. And in Asia, as I recall, what you're focused on isn't necessarily video games, right? Like let's talk a little bit about the heart of some of this content that you're digging into.
Yeah. So like I said, my mission is just to like create a hospitable environment for people to build relationships with me and with each other, whoever's like coming into this virtual space. And so everything we do, I try to keep it like chill and vibey. So we do a lot of co-working streams for people that are working from home, or, like just have the capability to have Twitch up or something while they're working or studying, just to create like a shared workspace. I also do sewing sometimes, and art, digital art and cooking. Sometimes I'll be on the other side of the store doing cooking streams, just to like make people feel like they're coming into the living room with me or around the dining table or something. To build those friendships. And I'm a terrible gamer. Like I really enjoy puzzle games. Like I do enjoy those puzzle games and sim type games. I like those a lot. But when it comes to like anything FPS or anything, I'm just like terrible. And I'd rather just build my dream home in Sims and hang out with you than like try to probably be carried in Destiny. So But yeah, that's kind of our aim, or my aim, whenever I am streaming.
So, like, you don't have a specific topic. Like, I'm hearing some of the guys and some of the others talking about, I only play this game, and
yeah, definitely on a
Destiny
main.
2. Yeah, no. So you're just kind of broad and towards,
yes, a true variety streamer. That's I really lean into that.
How do you stream in your kitchen? Like, because you're cooking, right? So what does that look like?
I use for all my streams, and I feel like really shines when I'm doing cooking streams. I use a software called Switcher Studio. It's actually the company I work for full time. I do all my streaming stuff like as kind of like part of my job, but then also like off the clock. And so I'm able to have a pretty simple wireless setup with my iOS devices as cameras. And so it's like easy for me to move everything from here into the kitchen and, I don't know, make an omelet or something, hang out with people. But yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I had forgotten that you were at Switcher Studio. Like that was I've had several friends that actually still are using that, and so it's a so great cool. Low cost, simple solution to get involved.
For sure.
Small churches, small spaces, like you can really do some really powerful stuff with that. And so that's beautiful. Like you're creating content, connecting with people. You're streaming kitchen and cooking, and all that fun stuff. So let's talk here. I mean, you're both ladies. Thank you. That was awkward. So let's talk here. Like, are your audience like women? Do you feel like when you're on, you cater more to women, that women are more wanting to connect with you in those environments? And even GodSquad's more of a church, like the representation of a woman involved in that and others. What's the role? What's the purpose? Do you find purpose in being a woman in this space?
You want to start? I don't know. We had really good conversations about this, just me and Amanda, in the past.
Yeah.
Go
ahead,
I can Amanda.
Start. All right. Well, at least for me, like my audience, I feel like it is mixed. I feel like I'll just naturally connect with women more. I, tend to be kind of girly, so I think I'll just naturally connect with women easier. But at least for my streams, I don't stream on my personal channel. I stream weekly on the church channel. And those are definitely mixed, just hanging out, playing different games, whatever I'm feeling like on that day. But yeah, I love just the opportunity to be a woman in this space, because it's got its own, it's got different types of challenges, right? Where everyone has challenges that they face when going live or doing whatever, but we as women have our own unique challenges. And I love to be able to be an example. I find a lot of purpose in that, just to encourage women, that they can do it too, that they can step out, be a light, be a leader in the space. And I find a lot of purpose in that. And I just want to do whatever I can to help other women kind of find that encouragement, that empowerment, that push, if they've been feeling to do something, to go ahead and do it, like you're awesome. Yeah. Like you have amazing things to bring to the table. And we need more women to step up. And so I just like being in this position to be able to, encourage other women and just to be an example. At least that's my hope, to be an example in some way. So
I think you do great.
Well, thanks.
I mean, similar to what Amanda said, I definitely find purpose I appreciate the unique perspective, bringing that unique perspective to a space like this. I'm very big on not existing in a vacuum. And so my desire is not necessarily to focus only on a specific demographic of people or just women or women of color or whatever. But my hope is that we can celebrate diversity, and part of that is just acknowledging blind spots that people may have. And so being able to have those conversations either amongst content creators or me and Amanda have had really great conversations, or just talking to other people about this topic. I think it just helps people broaden their perspective of how to serve the people that they are serving in their context and capacity. And that doesn't mean at least for me, like I just don't like to like shoe in on one
Sure.
group of people, but but yeah, like I think that it's like a both and effect where we're encouraging and supporting other women in the space to empower them all to do the things that the Lord has called them to do. So
Yeah.
It's 2023. Do you still feel the male machismo, ego in gaming, and even moving beyond gaming in Twitch in the communities there? Like, is there still kind of that intolerant approach, or has culture started to shift within Twitch overall recently, where it is more accepting and empowering?
I go ahead.
Yeah. Delay.
I love this delay.
I've definitely seen it improving for sure. I think that we've come a long way. I mean, I think that there will always be those people, and I don't think that we're 100% there yet. But I think we've made a lot of progress. I think there will always be, those guys, whether they realize they're doing it or not, that are kind of like stuck in their own ways and unintentionally still create this barrier between men and women. And I experienced that a lot. Honestly, I experienced that more, the unintentional side, where they just are unaware of just like behaviors and habits that they have that just naturally create this barrier that make it harder for women to kind of like, you know what I mean? But I really do think we've come a long way. And so, I think,
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I would say, I think like, people always be crazy, or can be crazy. I think like overall, like there is like a positive shift where women or there's like more inclusion in the digital space. But I would agree that a lot of it is more subtle, and the experiences that I've had, it's hard to say because like there's like we can talk about the space in general, or we can talk about like in the like niche Christian community of streamers. I think my experience is that a lot of times like I feel like this weird draw that I feel like I need to like prove myself sometimes, and I feel like my light just keeps deciding to change weirdly. Whatever, it's fine. I find, once again, I think this is like a very subconscious thing that people aren't purposely doing. But in the Christian creators space in particular, a lot of times, like when people find out who my husband is, and they're like, oh, okay. And then like I've like whatever hit some benchmark that they were expecting. Like I said, I don't think it's on purpose. And this is not saying everyone does this. I just have noticed this. Whereas, if people don't know my connection to Luke or to Love Thy Nerd, which is the organization that we are both connected in, there's like a little bit of a disconnect there. And I feel bad because I know that there are other women that are in the same position as me, but are not like, they don't have a significant other that is, tied to this community. And I think it's just that much harder for them to feel connected and feel seen in the space. So that's kind of like where my burden is.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel that.
St. Bear's in chat right now, and he's talking about, specifically Amanda, like you're not just a streamer, you lead the organization with GodSquad and very influential within that. And the flip side is he's talking about Aki, who's on the show, and we talked about how Peach is part of streaming and setting an example for other female streamers like Peach, who just out of pure ignorance on my side, because I'm fake it until you make it. I'm not a gamer. Who are some other people in this space, some other female voices that we should be looking at that are having a powerful influence, a positive influence within culture?
Great question.
Well, I'll say off the top of my head, mainly because I've been connecting with these specific ladies lately, but Miss Positivity is great. And I'm not an FPS gamer myself. So like that's what I hear, if you shoot and kill the things, like I'm happy for you. But I hear that she's actually cracked, but she's just so awesome. So Miss Positivity, Her Shades, Crossing Tommy, Cesare are just some incredible women in this space that are so encouraging, and they just want to uplift and empower other people. And I've just loved getting to know them. So those are a few that I would say.
Yeah. I would say, I'm going to shout out, she probably would hate that I did this, but like, I really love the like behind the scenes women that are getting stuff done in this space. Yes. Kate Katawaki, she is one of the co-founders of Love Thy Nerd. And she's just, I guess she is on stream like once a week because she helps record a podcast. And so you can get a little more FaceTime with her there. But for the most part, she works behind the scenes, and she just is very intentionally creating content to encourage and sharpen believers in this space, and also like create a bridge to for those who are not believers in this space and who are just need the love of Jesus. So all the love to her.
Yeah.
That's so cool. It's really interesting to see. Well, let me ask it this way. We talk a lot about contextualization in digital ministry, right? Where, like the digital missionaries, I'm thinking Jate. Jate is going to reach the people that Jate's going to reach. And Jate, as a digital missionary, his context is completely different than Aki. Aki is going to reach more of a family person. Jate is interested in Asian influence, like the hybrid fusion, whatever thing that Jate works. But it's Jate. You can't explain it, but it's who Jate is. But there's different contexts. I'm curious, when you look at like women streaming, some of the names you just mentioned, yourselves included, do you find that there are is there a specific audience that you can reach into that maybe a male counterpart can't? Similarly, are there guys, is there a target audience for them? Is there a persona that they can reach that maybe you can't get into? Like, talk to me about some of that, the challenges within that relationship. Is there a persona that you can reach that a male can't, and vice versa?
I, speaking as like a woman of color, I am really appreciative of like the unique voice that I can have in this space, and the like kind of community that I've like fostered. It's been a privilege to like help foster, is just people who don't feel like I'm mixed. I have a interesting like upbringing, and so I've always felt like I didn't really fit into a specific box really, and that kind of like just became more intensified like moving to the States, and like doing life here, and not in a bad way, like it just kind of the reality of life, and so it's been really cool to like talk about those things and help people feel seen and at home when they feel like they don't quite fit in. And I don't think that's like unique to me. Like I think that other people can definitely do that, but I think that like embracing those differences, like embracing the fact that we're not the norm of this like digital space, helps me connect with people who feel like they don't fit in those circles. And like I have seen like you said, like people are all wired differently, and I'm not the person who is going to be like the like entertainer person on screen. Like I'm not like trying to constantly catch your attention with like epic skills or whatever, or like a big personality, and so like a lot of times like I will miss out on people who really want to be like hooked in to what like to really entertaining content constantly, but for the people that like need a little bit of rest and they just need a little bit of relaxation because their whole lives are all crazy and they just like want to decompress. Like I feel like that is the circle of people that I keep finding in my community, which I'm here for. And so yeah, I would say that like there are whether it's like women or men or just different personalities. Like I think we all serve in this space in like very unique ways. And so I think you made a good point of saying like that people have different audiences. And I think it's good to like not, I mean, I think it's okay to like observe and like how people are doing things, but to not compare, like judge like one community against another and like try to like figure out how to replicate someone else's community necessarily.
Yeah. What do you think, Amanda?
From my experience, I know that, you know, there is like, we've been talking about it, how there's this, I guess this wall in between like women creators and men creators, or men and women in the space. And, one of the reasons behind it is like just the world we live in. Like women have to be more on guard, like to protect themselves, because like we live in a crazy world. We know the internet is crazy too. Like a lot of these women who are like streaming, or, you know, content creating, whatever, like they have like whispers and DMs turned off just because of like, you know, all just the crap that they continually get from just the crazy world that we live in. And so, you know, for me, like it's easier for women to connect with women because we feel safer with each other. And so to me, that's been a very unique opportunity that I've been more so discovering lately, that I have this opportunity to help connect with these women, and to help them connect with other people. And, you know, I've gotten to know a lot of just really great men in the platform through GodSquad Church that are just really great guys. They're good people, you know, and to help kind of bridge that gap, you know, that, because like if they're trying to connect with them, but they're like, I don't know you, like stranger danger, stay away, you know, it's going to be harder for them to connect because, you know, just by natural default, women are just more on guard. You know, if you're a strange man, like reaching out, like they're not going to be very quick to answer your DM, and that's just the way it is. And so I've loved being in this position to be able to kind of help, you know, bridge those gaps and to connect with these women. And, you know, I have loved, you know, just learning to step into that just to help more connection happen. And so.
Sure. I'm not looking for detail unless you're comfortable, but I do want to ask, like, have you experienced awkward, difficult, bad situations personally in church context in DMs? Like, has that even invaded within the church context that you're operating in, Amanda?
Oh, 100%.
Really?
Like 100%. Yeah. Just having like the church title, you know, doesn't stop people.
Okay.
I was telling Asia of a story. I won't tell the details, but like I was like live streaming on our church channel, which says GodSquad Church. And I had this guy come in chat saying these, you know, interesting things. And I was like, wow, like even on a church channel, I'm not safe. And for me, like, it is unfortunate. Like I have just, you know, it's just the way the world we live in. And so it, you know, it bothers me, but it doesn't bother me. But yeah, like even in the church, like, you know, Discord and Twitch, it's open to everyone at any time, you know, and you're just going to get some messages.
I'm laughing not at you. My heart goes out for you, and I want to go into this. But evidently, Lux, I'm finding in chat, somebody went into Lux church service last night and asked for a sex tape of Mark and his wife, which I just said on the podcast. So that's horrible and horrendous. I was going to say awesome at the same time, but it's not awesome.
Yeah,
not at all.
No.
I want to dig into this because I mean, Twitch is open, and so we're letting the world in. We're doing church where the world is. You're going to get crap like that happens. Forgive crap if crap's an issue. But literally, how do you protect yourself from those situations? Like, there's an administrative way to kick them out. There's a mute button. How does it prevent them from coming back in? Who are people that, like, you've got teams of volunteers that moderate? Like, what safeguards are in place to stop this from happening or prevent this from happening?
I think there are like different approaches to this for sure. I have found that like, for personally, I just don't see timing out as like effective. I think like if it is like a bannable situation, like I will just ban. But that being said, I think it's really important that there is nuance to those approaches, because as we're like building community, if it's like someone random that I have no like context for, like, I honestly don't feel bad, like just not acknowledging them and banning them and not saying anything. But if it's like an appropriate conversation that is being brought up by someone that we have like developed some sort of like rapport or friendship with, I try to like I think actually St. Bear has been there for some of them, like just try to have a conversation to reason out of like, hey, like I just don't think, like kind of come alongside, like I don't think it's appropriate for, like I'm confident myself to not have to like shut you down right away. Like I don't need to like, go there right away, but I do want to have a conversation if you're bringing this up. Like on stream, we can talk about like, hey, like I don't think it's appropriate, or hey, maybe we should think through what we're talking about. But I feel like those kind of conversations, just generally speaking, only have stock if there is some sort of like a relationship there. So if I don't have that relationship with people, like I will just ban. And then like, if one of my mods these days, like my mods are pretty busy, so I'm like kind of by myself a little bit, or Luke is just Luke or something. And so like people can reach out to our mod team if they, want to appeal for whatever reason. But yeah, so that's the way I try to approach it. Like I try to treat people as much as possible if there is like a relationship there. But that's just my own approach though.
Unpack for me. Now we're Twitch streaming this. And so Twitch people understand what you just said, but my podcast audience is not as comfortable with Twitch. And so I want you to unpack mod team. Like you just said, my mod team handles this, or like appeals and stuff like that. Explain what mod team is. This is an interesting concept I want them to understand.
Yeah. I think St. Bear mentioned this in chat as well, that like a lot of women have like bigger mod teams than men who are like content creators on Twitch, or I'm sure are like on other platforms. Yeah. But for me, it's like important to have people that like show some sort of like commitment to your community, whether that means like they're watching your streams constantly or they're in your Discord server or whatever. It's like in our in like the community's best interest to have like some people appointed that have like a little bit of power in your chat to remove people from your streams at like the most extreme, or to mute certain chatters if people are being inappropriate, or do other positive things. Like they don't just do negative things. Like they can also have like a positive effect in your channel. But I think that it's important to it's like on one hand, you're protecting your own self. If someone is like not haggling, that's the wrong, heckling you and making, I don't know, just like teasing you or just like being completely inappropriate. You want to protect yourself, but also you want to protect your community. Like they don't need to hear that either. Like it's not just you. I think that that's like a responsibility we have as like people who are hosting streams, that like you're also trying to be considerate of the people that are in your chat. So mod teams can help you just keep the house rules in order, I guess. But I mean, I'm sure like it's a little bit more robust with GodSquad, but that's just my own disorganized approach.
Yeah, I'd love to hear kind of GodSquad's approach, how you maybe modify on some of those ideas. And I'm assuming all these are volunteers, right? Like, or is there a pay structure?
For me, yeah, for sure. No. I mean, I think you can pay your mods. I know there's some like streamers that like
you can
any like sub money they get or whatever, they can like give that all. I've seen people that like they make their money like through partnerships or whatever. So whatever money they get through Twitch, they just give to their mods, which I think is really cool.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
Amanda, talk a little bit about mods.
Yeah. So for us, we obviously have our staff who is there for that, but we have a volunteer team of moderators as well. For us being a church, we always resort to banning as like our last resort. It's not something that we're ever quick to do. We always try to leave that as like our last option, because we believe trolls need Jesus too. And so we try to have conversations with them. For me, one of my old mods, when I used to stream my own personal channel, she shared in chat, but even now, streaming on my personal channel or the church channel, if I have someone coming in my chat, saying inappropriate things, I have no problem calling them out. I'm going to call them out, and I'm going to be like, hey, I'm glad you're here. I hope you're having a great day, but please be, kind and respectful. And if they continue, I will time them out, but I confront them and I give them a chance. And our moderator team is so patient and they're always willing to talk with these people. There is a line, of course, that, once they cross the line, then yes, we remove permissions, we ban, we block, whatever. But we really try, to exhaust all of our options before we resort to banning someone from the community, just because as a church, we try hard to reach people for Jesus. We're here on Twitch to reach people for Jesus, and these are the people on Twitch. And so that's kind of our approach, but it's very similar. We have a mod team, bots are very helpful, in things like Discord and Twitch chats, for auto modding through those bots. But yeah, and so that's kind of our approach in a nutshell. Is we try to not ban unless it's absolutely necessary, but yeah.
Future generations, like the next level of women that want to stream, the ones that are just starting out, how do you prepare them for this? How do you help them be aware of the difficult, the tense situations, the trolls, like that? What does that look like? Do y'all have any experience with that?
Yeah, I think like part of it is just like feeling, or like having the confidence to have these kinds of conversations. I think like this is obviously people being trolls is not unique to just girls, but I feel like there is a unique struggle that women have in the space that I don't know, like it's one of those like if you experience it, you know it. If not, like it's hard to like to fully like put yourself in those shoes. Yeah, if you know, in the worst way. And in the best way too. But like, I think like, yeah, being like having an air of transparency when these things happen, I think is like very encouraging, and it helps make other women in the space feel less isolated because, me and Amanda met for the first time in person at the Megazord event, and we just like quickly connected. And a big instant way we connected was just realizing that like we both had very similar experiences in this like mostly positive like gaming like Christian content creating gaming space. But it was interesting to find like, oh, it was one of those like, oh, you too? I thought it was just me. And like, when most of the people in the circle are guys and just don't have the same experiences as us, you kind of think that you're on your own and you just got to figure it out and like, just keep going. And I mean, there is an element for sure of just like being resilient that you have to have if you're in the space, but it like we also are human and like we have the ability to connect with each other because we are human. And so I think it's just like important to be open to have those conversations and like seek them out. Like, I think like just being intentional goes a long way. But yeah, I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling.
No, it's the pure is so good. Amanda, like I'd love your take on this. Go ahead.
Yeah, honestly, I have to agree with my girl Asia. She said a lot of good stuff. And, I agree. I think it's just helping them understanding like what they're getting into. Like, not that it's like you got to prepare yourself because like, this is no joke, but there is like the internet is just a different place, and you just have to understand what you're getting into and have that confidence. I love that word confidence that you used, Asia, to be able to navigate that, the confidence that the people that come into your chat, like they don't define you, and learning to navigate that. But then also, again, to what Asia said, the importance of we need each other. We were created for community, we were created for relationship, and finding that network of people that you can, go to for encouragement, for advice, for prayer, as you're stepping into this space is so necessary as well. And so, yeah, for anyone who's starting new, like I would want them to understand like what they're getting into and like, to understand, to have the confidence to step into it, but also like, we need each other, so make sure you find people that you can have in your life to walk alongside you in this journey. So, yeah.
So good. Yeah. And like I was saying, that the peer-to-peer network, the peer-to-peer connection, walking with somebody that's going through it. You're right, Amanda. That's so helpful to be open and transparent, even as Asia was saying. Awesome. Well, hey, listen, we were joking in chat on today. It was like Love Your Mod Day. That was a deep dive on some of that. Talk to me, because we've been a little negative and a little down here. What brings you the most joy in streaming? Like, why do you do this? What's the thing that you love about what you're doing? Go ahead, Asia.
Great question. Okay, well, I never know if like I want to like anticipate the delay and not cut someone off, but then it's just like a longer awkward silence. But I mean, so much brings me joy. I think like specifically streaming this kind of content, it makes me feel the most whole, I guess, because like there is a side of me that is very creative and I like to create things, no matter what the medium is, but I love like building relationships. And so it's really cool to come alongside other people while we're like creating something together and, just catch up on life. But in particular, I think like some of the things I love is just like, over time, people becoming like names in chat, becoming familiar faces virtually, I guess, like people that, you know that they've been really struggling in math and they're super excited that they got an A on their last test that they studied for, or knowing like people's celebrations or struggles, whatever they may be, like just getting to know people beyond just like them saying hi in chat and whatever. Like I think like one of the sweetest moments is whenever people there are viewers that, they haven't been in stream for a while for whatever reason. It doesn't have to be a bad reason. But when they come back, it always feels like a little reunion. I just think like that's one of the sweetest things, that like we can like see each other even if we're in a virtual space. I just love that. It makes it feel like it's like a real community, and like I essentially am having these people in my home with me hanging out and doing life together. So it's sweet.
It's awesome. I think for me, I have two main things, and the first one would be, streaming honestly is just a tiny, tiny part of what I do through GodSquad Church. It's 2 hours of my entire, I do too much stuff, but that's the church life. But well, it shouldn't be, but anyways, that's a whole other conversation. But I honestly, genuinely just love seeing people's lives being transformed by Jesus. I have the opportunity and privilege to lead small groups. I actually just had one before this podcast, and, leading worship, being on stream, just having those random conversations with people and seeing people's lives changed and being a part of that. It brings a joy that is unexplainable. It really is just so incredible. And so for me, that would be one. The other one would be just experiencing community, like developing relationships with people online. And Asia, like you are one of those people, that I've had the opportunity to get to know and to connect with. Yes, but getting to know people, building relationships and having that community, it is like it's online, that is true, but it is still so good, and it has been so life-giving. And so I think those two things have been just a huge source of joy for me. It's truly a privilege to be able to be here in this space. So
It's interesting, Amanda. You were, talking a little bit about, the church life and so much other things that you're involved in, and recently you've been more active in leading the organization. Like even at that level, as the leader of a church and a female, are you feeling tension? Are you feeling kickback or issues with being a female leader? Like, talk to me a little bit about that.
Oh, yes. So I'm a pastor at our church. And, not everyone believes that women can be or should be pastors, which is okay. They can believe what they want. I believe it is okay. Thus I am. And so, yeah, I definitely get pushback. We would literally have people join our Discord server and, I'll be showing online. And so at the top right, we have our staff at the top right, and, it has my name, and then in parentheses, it has pastor. And I will literally just get someone who is brand new to our server who will just DM me like the 2 Timothy verses, and then like almost like a drop mic moment, and then they'll leave our server. And like I
bet you never heard that before.
Yeah, like I honestly get that so much, and I'm like, okay, like what? I bet you thought you did something there, And so it's just stuff like that is a normal occurrence, and honestly, in the beginning, I was like, nah, maybe I shouldn't be a pastor. I don't want to stir the waters, but at the same time, I'm like, I've grown in my confidence in what God has called me to. And I'm at a point where I'm like, people are going to be people, and, that's okay because, I'm walking in the calling that God has called for me. And I'm truly learning to be confident in that, not in myself, but in what God has called me to do. And so, but yeah, total pushback for sure.
I would love, you just said, Amanda, you said 2 or 3 times what God has called you to do. I would, can you do this? Can you tell me right now what you feel like God's called you to do? I would love to hear that.
Oh gosh. Well, that's such a hard question to answer because, also I could go on about this, but I also feel like, God calls us to seasons, like he calls us into new positions, opportunities, et cetera, in different seasons. And so for this season, I feel God has called me. Well, it's also been a long season. I've been with the church for 7 years, so it's been a long season, but I feel like God has called me to be a leader, for GodSquad Church. And, specifically that started as worship ministry. And so it's what I went to college for, and, the worship and executive pastor. And so, but it started specifically with worship, and that's kind of grown. And I've learned more about myself and the gifts that God has given me, that's kind of grown into this worship and executive position. And I just love it. It is just so fun. But yeah, awesome. I don't know how to answer that. It's so packed. But I don't know if that answered it actually, but yeah, I don't know.
No, I love it. Like, listen, it's culture puts women in a difficult position. Where you're enabled to lead, where there's hesitancy to lead, you're marginalized, you're discredited, you're thrown aside. This goes all the way back to biblical times. The woman at the well, Mary Magdalene, Mary, mother of Jesus. Like there's, and I just offended a whole bunch of Protestants because of a Catholic reference. So forgive me, but you understand the point where the women are discredited in many ways. Whereas the first people that saw Jesus were women. Some of the more influential people, let's not even talk about Esther and Ruth of the Old Testament. Like there's incredible power that comes from the female side of biology. And so we as a church, we need to understand, we need to live in that tension of, the Bible says this, but we're seeing this, and having that tension. I don't know, it's a bad thing. There's a lot of other attention areas in the Bible that we need to dig into as we're seeing culture shift and adapt with some things. So listen, I love this conversation, and I'm seeing even Mother Goose has been saying 4 and 5 times in chat, this is awesome, this is incredible, I love this. because and I'm going to make an assumption here that Mother Goose is a woman because her name's Mother. Maybe that's wrong, but I think so. Is Mother a woman? Like, she can yell at me right now on chat if she's not. But even talking about this empowers other women to be transparent with what they're going through and get it addressed and get on top of it.
I have like such a burden.
Strong in their faith. No, I was going to say Mother Goose. I can tell these ladies are strong in their faith. All right, now go ahead, Asia. Talk to me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I just have a burden for specifically, women who want to follow, like, want to be faithful to the calling that God specifically has called them to, especially when, like, this doesn't speak for obviously every single Christian woman, but like, I think there are a good amount of people in this space in like the Christian church in general who were, raised by families who wanted them to be, be discerning, to be faithful to the Lord and to what He's called us to. And I think that like when you become an adult and you're like in the world and trying to do that, you end up being like met with so much weird opposition or just like weird tension when you're literally just like trying to be faithful to what God has called you to. And I just my heart just goes out for everyone that are like trying to follow the Lord's calling, but specifically like I think women just have like a hard time like feeling comfortable doing what like they are convicted to do by the Lord and like faithfully trying to serve in whatever way they can. So I don't know. My heart is for all of them, all of us.
So what's next for your respective ministries? Like we've probably talked more about the women issue than your ministries, but I'd love to know what's coming up with GodSquad. What's coming up with the content creation and stuff that you're working on, Asia. But let's do Amanda first. Amanda, what's on the horizon? What can we expect to see from GodSquad Church?
So some things that we're doing next. Well, first we have our Easter services. And so we have an awesome Easter service planned for next Saturday. So we're really excited for that. We're doing like a big invite challenge, encouraging our community to invite people to church. We're going to be doing gaming monitor giveaways at both services. And so we try to go all out for the big, Easter and Christmas, and so we have our Easter services. We're doing a 3-day streamathon at the end of April, announcing our digital missionaries that we're going to be taking on as a church. We're going to be financially supporting 3 individuals within this online gaming space that are just reaching people for Jesus. And so, that's coming up. We're bringing back our SquadCon in person this year, which is like a 3-day event where we come together for like live worship, fellowship, all of that fun stuff. So we're bringing that back. And so we have a good year in store for GodSquad Church and a lot of awesome. Yeah. So I'm excited.
When is SquadCon?
Well, we're still in the process. It's going to be in the summer, but it's going to be about end of July, beginning of August. I'm currently in conversation with a venue, and so more details to come. But yeah,
I want to have you on the podcast. I want to bring you back and bring TJ or whoever you want to come back. But I want to unpack what happens when GodSquad Church meets physical. Like, it's so often digital churches, the assumption digital can't be physical, which is interesting because you can be physical. You're just not physical every week. And so even meeting once a year, GodSquad doing SquadCon, like that's a great opportunity to build the relationships physically. That'll connect it and extend it through digitally. Like, so I would love, and I'm sure some great stories going to come from that. So would love to unpack that summer, fall. So I'll make a note. I'll reach out to you. It'll be great.
Cool.
All right. So Asia, talk to me a little bit. What's on the roadmap for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like my streams will still be pretty similar. I'm having a bit of a schedule change just due to like my own work stuff. And so we'll just keep some of that same content. But I'm in a unique position where Luke and I both, Frostbite, Ivy, as he goes by on Twitch, we both do like have our own personal channels and ministries and like focus social media effort in tandem. And we also share a Discord server. And so I really want to I have been like focusing on coming up with a plan to be really intentional with our shared Discord server and creating digital spaces off of Twitch, but like in another like focus space to hang out like virtually, whether that is like more just like getting work done together or having some movie nights, just like more times for us to like have shared time together where we're not necessarily like live on a channel, and it could be a little bit more intimate in that way. So I'm really excited about that. And I think with like, I actually think with my schedule changing because of work, it ends up enabling me to be a little bit more involved in our Discord server, which is super awesome. And because that's where our heart has been, is like really having a collected effort. So it's cool to share that with Luke and have our communities come together. That's a good example of like two communities that are very different, but they work really well together. But yeah, so I'm excited for what that will all turn into, in addition to like all the stuff that Luke is doing for Love Thy Nerd with the Nerd Mission Summit. Oh, I already butchered the name, NCMS Summit. But yes, Nerd Culture Mission. Right, yeah. Ministry. No, it is ministry. I don't. Wow, Luke's going to be so disappointed in me. But there's just a lot going on right now, and it's all really good things. So just being able to focus and hone in on those specific areas will be awesome. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, very cool. Listen, I've loved this conversation. Even just getting a better taste, some examples and some stories of maybe some of the difficulties that women streamers and even women in church are going through. And so, I want to take a moment here and thank you all for doing this, for pioneering, for carving the path for those to come behind, for setting an example for others to follow suit. It really is a shame, to quote St. Bear in chat right now, that you all are going through the situation, that you have these difficulties, that you have to gear up for trolls at a higher level, that you get people joining a Discord server just to throw a Bible verse in your face and run away like a coward. Yes, I said that. And so, listen, and for those of us that are on the side watching, and like your mods, however we can help in that situation, we want to. But I want to take a moment and to thank you for the difficulties, because you are setting an example for that next group that's coming behind you. So thank you for that. And maybe it's love your mod day, and it's respect the women who are on this day, and we can make it whatever days we want. Like it's whatever. But let me ask this, just as we're landing the plane, as we're wrapping up here, any closing thoughts? Asia, any closing thoughts as we're wrapping up?
I just am always encouraged to, or I don't know, it's awesome to have these kinds of conversations, and not for the sake of like speaking into a vacuum, or just like talking to the same people about the same topics. I think it's just really interesting that it is actually life-giving. Like the conversations that me and Amanda have now been on 2 different interviews talking about similar, or like a topic similar to this. And it's been cool to have those conversations with each other that sharpens our own like personal ministries, and also how we are able to encourage each other around us. And also people that we're having this conversation that are like not women, being able to just impart some perspective there. And it's I think is encouraging to them to be able to serve in better in their specific ministries. And so I just think that's a really cool ripple effect. And I think that is like a picture of the Lord, like how the Lord intended a community to be, is that we, sharpen each other by building those relationships and speaking life into each other. So yeah, I'm thankful for the opportunity.
Building relationships and speaking life, even digitally. So well said.
Yes,
thanks,
exactly.
Asia.
So
Amanda.
good. Well, I again just want to thank you for this opportunity. And, I think having these conversations is so good and needed. And like Asia said, life-giving. we're not going to see more women stepping up and being celebrated unless these conversations are happening. And so I'm just really glad and thankful to not just be a part, but just to see them happening. And so thank you for the opportunity. And, I just want to encourage all the ladies out there, if you have been thinking about stepping up into streaming or content creation or ministry online, and you've been hesitant, if this is what God is calling you to do it, get it, girl, you got it. We need more women stepping up. We do. We really, really do. And so, those are my thoughts.
Oh, very cool. Well, hey, we're going to wrap up here with Ladies Night. We're going to bring it to a close. Girl power, go, whatever else is there with that. But thank you, Asia. Thank you, Amanda, for jumping on the podcast. And we're going to continue on. We're coming to a close here in the next week or so with season 4 here of Jesus, Gamers, and Church, the Church Digital Podcast. But I think we've got a couple episodes left. We got to check some scheduling things. But you know what? We're excited to learn what we've been learning about gamer culture, nerd culture, and how the church, how we can reach people through this gaming space. And so we once again thank the 2 ladies for jumping on. By the way, if you got hate mail, it's funny. I did a ladies thing before. Women in ministry. And it was interesting. The women that were actually on the podcast with me got hate as a result of what they said on the podcast. If you got hate, Jeff at thechurch.digital, my cell phone number is literally 484-324-8724. You can send whatever hate my way on this. Leave the ladies alone. Let them do what God's called them to do. And we're gonna land the plane right there. Thank you very much for jumping on the Church Digital Podcast. We'll see you next week on the show. Y'all have a good day.